Peace and blessings. Welcome to the Fourth Angels Learning Center. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Today we are covering our spiritual warfare series. We are specifically discussing the armor of Yah, and we are on the element of the sword of the Spirit. It's almost over. And we're going to break down the sword of the Spirit, which I think people know it defines it itself. But specifically, I want us to remember what this is for. Remember, verse 11 of Ephesians 6 talks about the wiles of the devil, talks about his trickery. We talked about the to being able to stand against the fiery darts of the wicked as well, referring to Satan's deceptions coming through people. And now it's talking about how do we address those attacks, which is by the sword of the Spirit. Now, I kept on re-emphasizing this in the very beginning of our spiritual warfare series, talking about and discussing how these are not dealing with demons. Like, you're not using a sword to chop them up, but what they are is dealing with lies and deception. You are battling lies and deception and dark views and dark ideas, thoughts that would move the mind away from Yah's truth and his promises and his word and into your own. So this is very important for us to understand. How do we utilize the word of Yah? I know Messiah gave us plenty of examples how during his life here, how he used the word of Yah. The prophets also showed us how they used the word of Yah in regards to trying to wake up the children of Israel. Moses gave us the law and then taught us the meaning of that law through the Spirit, of course. And of course, it has to be through the Spirit, because the word of Yah, or the sword of the Spirit, is the word of Yah. So let's look at this again and look at a few verses to kind of establish this view. Ephesians chapter 6, looking at verse 17. Last time we talked about the helmet of salvation. And now we're looking at the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of Yah. Let's look at a few verses just to understand certain elements about this word. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 23, looking at verse 2. And it says, the Spirit of Yah spake by me, and his word was in my tongue. So you see this is the correlation. This is the correlation of how Yah wants us to open our mouths. We ought not to speak frivolously. We ought not to speak without wisdom. We ought not to speak with emotion, with anger, or with any of these things, which we do a lot of times. What we need to do is understand the discipline, and this is why Yah tells us to put this on, because this is not just something that miraculously comes forth out of us. This is something that we have to put forth effort in doing. Not saying that you are strong enough to do it on your own, because you are absolutely not. But Yah sees your effort and he enables you to do what you need to do. So it says, the Spirit of Yah spoke by me, and his word was in my tongue. There's many instances in which people say they are speaking by the Spirit with no words from Yah to back it up. There's nothing in the scripture to test it. We know very, very important warning that John gives us in 1 John chapter 4, which says, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirit to see if they're from Elohim. This is 1 John chapter 4, verse 1. Please make sure you do not just believe people that say that they're speaking by the word, by Yah, by the Spirit of Yah, if they're not revealing the understanding of the word of Yah. The word of Yah defines how the Spirit moves and what the Spirit says. Let's look at a few more verses. Let's look at Proverbs chapter 1, looking at verse 23. It says here, turn at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my Spirit unto you, and I will make known my words unto you. You see this? When the Spirit is poured out, his words is made known. Not random words, but knowledge, understanding, wisdom. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is made known when the Spirit is poured out. We talked about this in the very beginning of our series, talking about the mind of Yah and the mind of man, and Yah revealing his mind to us. Let's go to John. I'm going to try to move through this. John chapter 6, verse 63. John chapter 6, verse 63, it says, "It is the spirit that makes alive, and the flesh does not profit anything. The words that I speak to you, they are spirit, and they are life." So again, the words that Messiah spoke, which many words that he spoke was from directly from Yah, and it says it is written. There was many instances in which he proved what he was saying by quoting the prophets. He proved that what he was saying was validated by Yah by quoting what the prophets also referred or reflected, such as Isaiah, Jeremiah, Hosea, all of these prophets. Moses, he quoted them to show that what he was saying was correct, or what was consistent with how Yah speaks to his people. So the spirit and the word of Yah does not separate from one another. They're actually identified as the same thing. It's not like the Bible. The Bible is what you read. The word of Yah is what you receive. The truth is what you receive. The understanding is what you have inside of your mind. So the spirit is what gives you understanding of Yah's words. You can read the Bible all day long and not get it, because the spirit did not give you the understanding or reveal to you the knowledge and wisdom that's in it. So it's very important that we understand the difference between information and wisdom and knowledge. 1 Peter chapter 4, looking at verse 11, look at what it says. It says, "If any man speaks, let him speak as a oracle of Elohim." What does it mean by oracle? The word oracle actually means mouthpiece. Mouthpiece. If you're going to speak, speak as if you are the representation, the representative mouthpiece of Elohim. It says, "If any man minister, let him do it according to the ability that Elohim gave him, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahushua Messiah, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever." Do these things according to what Yah has given to you. Be honest with what you have and work on it. Move towards receiving more from Yah. Please stop calling yourself prophets. Please allow it to be manifested according to the ability that was given to you. Please stop referring to yourself as the leaders and all of these things. If you are guiding people, you are naturally going to be referred to as a leader, but allow it to come. Don't just think that a leader is a job title or elder is a job title. No, this is something that when you are living it, when you are desiring to move with sharing this knowledge with others, with desiring other people to elevate their thinking and elevate their walk, this is the characteristics of what Yah wants a person who speaks on his behalf to be in. A person who is honest with the word of Yah as well. Like, you don't have to know every single thing. You need to be honest about not knowing as well. You need to share honestly what you see, and when you're being corrected as well, it doesn't stop you from being a leader. It doesn't stop you from being a husband just because someone else is correcting you. Your child is correcting you. Your wife is correcting you. It's okay that you are being corrected. This is the mindset of a person who is being used to lead out or to serve or to minister a certain way, that they are in a humble state where they can receive from Yah in every angle, from the children, from your wife, from strangers, from friends. But you are here to make sure you represent Yah properly, to ask him for his spirit and his wisdom and knowledge and understanding in your mind, so that way you can speak as a mouthpiece of Elohim. How can I test if you are oracle of Elohim? How can I test that? By using the scriptures. The scriptures test whether or not you actually are speaking according to the spirit, because they do not separate from each other. Whatever the spirit inspires you to say, I should be able to find confirmation in the scriptures. Let's go to Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 4, looking at verse 12 to 13. It says here, "For the word of Elohim is quick, is alive. The word of Elohim is alive and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing and dividing apart the soul and the mind. It says the soul and the spirit, but it's talking about your very being, and your mind, and the joints and the marrow. It says it's a discerner. It's a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. The word of Yah reveals to us how to interpret and understand people's thoughts, as well as to recognize their intents and motives as well. We need to be careful. The spirit of Yah reveals to us by discernment and understanding of his word. Who is who? What is what? And then it says, neither is there any creature that is not manifested in his sight, but all things are naked and open unto the eyes of him whom we have to do. What does that mean? That means that Yah is able to reveal anything that he wants to us. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 2 real quick. Look at what it says here. It says here in verse 9, it says, as it is written, I have not seen, nor ear have heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which Elohim had prepared for them that love him. But, verse 10, Elohim have revealed them unto us by his spirit, because the spirit searches all things, yea, the deep things of Elohim. So anything that we desire, even in our study, if we desire for something to be revealed, it's not a matter of trying to memorize. It's not a matter of trying to study it like you're studying for your, scholastic, your academics. This is something different. This is not how to learn how to put together a car. This is supernatural discernment. This is something that can only come from the spirit of Yah. The word of Yah can only be understood if the spirit of Yah opens your mind to understand it. Anybody can understand the surface informational aspect of words. Anybody can open up the Bible, understand that, but can you experience it? Can you recognize it? Can you discern the reality of it? 1 Corinthians chapter 2 also talks about the difference between the spiritual man and the natural man, that the natural man, the things of Yah sounds foolish to him because he can't understand them, and that spiritual things are spiritually understood, spiritually discerned. So it's very important that we understand this element, because utilizing the spirit, utilizing the sword of the spirit is being in union with, or having the union of the spirit and the word of Yah working in your mind, allowing you to understand as well as express the deep things that comes from Yah. But you have to be connected to that. And here's another aspect. We're going to go back to Ephesians 6. Let's go back to Ephesians 6. So if you notice at the very end that there's a colon, which means that this idea of the sword of the spirit of the word of Yah is not a idea that's alone. It's not an idea that's alone. So it says the sword of the spirit, which is the word of Elohim. And then it says praying always with all prayer and supplication. How? In the spirit. So the sword of the spirit, which enables you to understand the word of Yah, also enables you to pray as you ought. It says, and watching with all perseverance and supplications for all the saints. So what does this do? The spirit of Yah, the word of Yah, is being utilized in your prayer as well, in the spirit, for the guarding and the preserving of all the people of Yah. You are utilizing this to assist the word of the people of Yah to be preserved, to be protected, to be guarded. This is what the word watching means. In the Hebrew, the word watching comes from shamar in most places. So it says, for unto me that utterance may be given to me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel. So you see, everything that I'm doing, opening my mouth, speaking the word of Yah, praying, is all a part of this aspect of the armor of Yah. The word of Yah is not separated from the spirit, is not separated from prayer. Look at what it says here. For which I am an ambassador in bonds, that wherein I may speak boldly as I ought to speak. But let's come back up here to verse 18. Praying always with all prayer, supplication in the spirit, and watching with all perseverance and supplication for all the saints. Watching. This is your intent of utilizing the word of Yah, is to guard the people of Yah, is to support, is to help, is to preserve the people of Yah. It is not to cut people, it's not to hurt people, it's not to embarrass people. It is to protect, preserve, and to strengthen. Sometimes people may get offended. That's not your problem. As long as you're presenting it in the spirit, it's going to do what it's supposed to do. 1 Samuel chapter 12, looking at verse 23. It says about prayer. Samuel's talking about him praying or not praying for the people of Yah. It says, moreover, as for me, Elohim forbid that I should sin against Yah in ceasing to pray for you. But I will teach you the good and the right way. You see this? You see how the word of Yah, teaching, speaking, and praying is all coinciding. If I'm going to stop praying for you, I'm not going to teach you either. There's many people that they're not walking in the spirit. They're not praying. They're not utilizing they're not surrendered and submitted to receive understanding from Yah. They're trying to receive understanding academically. They're trying to learn and memorize and gain information. This is what we ought not to do. We ought not to approach this like this is a school book. This is definitely a schooling, but this is not a textbook. You should not treat it the way that you treat other things in school. So look at this. Sin against Yah in stopping to pray for you, but he's going to continue to pray and he's going to teach. So you notice those two things coming together as we see here. He is watching and guarding over the people of Yah. He is trying to help them. This is what it says in Ephesians. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, looking at verse 15, I believe, 17. Pray without ceasing. Pray without ceasing. Look what it says in verse 18. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of Elohim in Yahushua Messiah concerning you. And it talks about not quenching the spirit right after. Don't quench the spirit. Let's look at a few more verses just to establish the correlation between the word, the sword of the spirit, and prayer, and guarding the saints. This is what the function of those things is for. It's not for yourself. It's not for the saints to revere you. It's not for Yah's people to uphold you. Isaiah 62, looking at verse 6, I have set watchmen upon your walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day or night. You see, these watchmen do not keep quiet. They will not hold their peace day or night. You that make mention of yahuah, keep not silence. Keep not silence. So the watchmen ought to speak. And of course, if you ought to speak, you ought to speak in the spirit as well. You ought not to speak rashly. You ought not to speak, ignorantly. You ought to speak what you know, and you ought to guard the people of Yah, Yah's people. Ezekiel, looking at Ezekiel chapter 33. We're going to look at verse 2 to 7. Look what it says here. Look what he tells Ezekiel. Son of man, speak to the children of your people and say to them, when I bring the sword upon a land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman, if when he sees the sword come upon the land, he blows the trumpet and warn the people. It's giving you the element of a watchman. You warn the people when you see danger coming. Then whoever hears the sound of the trumpet and takes not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. He heard the trumpet and he did not care about the warning. His blood shall be upon himself. But he that takes warning shall deliver or be rescued. His being shall be rescued. Look at verse 6. If the watchman, the man that's supposed to guard his people, the man that's supposed to speak and warn his people, if the watchman sees the sword coming and do not blow the trumpet and do not warn the people, if that sword come and take any the people from among them, he is taken in his iniquity, but the blood I will require at the watchman's hand. If you notice the language, he keeps using a reference of war or enemies coming and sweeping in. But he says that if a person gets swept away, that he is taken in his iniquity, that he is taken in his rebellion. So this reference is talking about sin. Even though it's talking about armies coming and sweeping you out, it is referring to spiritual things. It says, O son of man, I have set you as a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore you shall hear the word at my mouth and warn them from me. Warn them from me. I'm going to do one more just so we can understand. This is the aspect of the armor of Yah that many people do not recognize because they're looking at it as over literal, or they're not understanding that these is a characteristics established in the mind of the believer, especially of the leader. Jeremiah chapter 6, looking at verse 16 and 17. It says, thus saith Yahuwah, stand ye in the ways and see. Ask for the old paths, where is the good way? Walk therein, and you shall find rest for your souls. And they said, we will not walk therein. Verse 17 says, also, I set watchmen over you, saying to you. So he has these guards or watchers saying to them with their words, being the oracles of Yah, saying, listen to the sound of the trumpet. But they said, we will not listen. In this case, he tells, just like he tells Ezekiel in Ezekiel 33, he says, that's not going to be that's not your problem. It's on their own heads because you did what you were supposed to do. When we go back to Ephesians 6, this is what the armor of Yah is for. It's for the guarding and the uplifting and the assistance of the people of Yah. The sword of the Spirit, the word of Yah, the praying with all supplications in the Spirit, the watching for all with all perseverance and supplications for all the saints. This is what this is for. We're not just equipping ourselves so that way we can be ready and then we're just worried about our own little tight circle or our own family or friends. We are being prepared to preserve Yah's people as a whole. We are here to offer a service to Yah's people as a whole, and if we are unable to do this, I'm not sure why we would not possess the word of Yah or the sword of the Spirit. The sword of the Spirit does not come without prayer, and it does not come without watching. It doesn't make any sense. Whether you guard and watch your children, your family, the people around you, if you're a mother and you're home and you're guarding the people that you're watching, or if you're having a communication and someone says something and then you have in your mind something to share, but you're too embarrassed or you're too afraid, these are the things that's hindering the people of Yah from growing. To not reveal what is true, to not reveal what is right to another person does not preserve them. Matter of fact, they will continue to walk in danger until you do so, until they learn, and if something happens to them and you didn't warn them, then part of that guilt is on you. So this is a very important topic. This is not something that's easy to just grasp or easy to walk out. This is something that's simple, but many times we overlook the responsibility that these elements have, especially since Yah tells you to put them on. You ought not to sit there and just wait for it to come on you. you ought to be adamant, active, putting in your effort in executing the things that Yah wants you to do. If he enables you with the spirit, then walk it out. He doesn't move your legs for you. He tells you to follow me, right? So he says, follow me. So we ought to follow, we ought to walk, we ought to do, we ought to act. So I hope that this series of the armor of Yah was definitely insightful. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us an email. We would love to answer your questions in video form. All right. So we look forward to the next study. Shalom, everyone.